Obi Wan Kenobi, the limited series on Disney Plus, has come to a close, seemingly, with its 6th episode premiering just the other day. While there were a couple, bumps along the way, some conveniences in the plot to make the story happen, overall, I dug it. And apparently it's doing numbers on Disney Plus. This show has been talked about online ever since the first episode came out. It's been hyped up for years and years beforehand, and people are showing up to watch it, and I think overall the show delivered on my expectations for it. So that just begs the question, what comes next? Not only for the series, but for some of the characters introduced in it. That's what we're here to talk about today. There's not a whole lot that's officially announced yet in regards to where characters from Kenobi might be seen next in the Star Wars universe, but it's heavily implied that some of them will be showing up again in the future, and there's already been talks from Deborah Chow, the director of the series, and Kathleen Kennedy, not saying for sure that they'll be doing a season 2 of Kenobi, but that they are considering it, which, considering that it was originally supposed to just be a limited series, that's pretty telling of how successful Disney and Lucasfilms is viewing this project. First up is the character of Roken, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr. He's the one who's kind of in charge of the path, the people who are smuggling and helping out both former Jedi and Force-sensitive children. At the beginning, when we first meet him in the series, he's very hesitant to get involved with much more than what he's doing, but by the end we see that he's risen in confidence and in what his desires to do in terms of his fight against the Empire. So I would not be surprised if he shows up again in some leadership position within the very beginning inklings of the Rebel Alliance. We are getting the Jedi Fallen Order video game sequel, Jedi Survivor, which he could pop up in, or I think possibly more likely in the Andor series coming out at the end of the summer, where we are seeing Cassian Andor, the character played by Diego Luna from Rogue One, how he comes to join the rebellion. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Roken pop up in there as a leadership in the rebellion, but obviously not as high as Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. Specifically, Mon Mothma is going to be focused on a lot in the Andor series, but I wouldn't be shocked if we got a Roken cameo in there. Next up is Reva, played by Moses Ingram, and I think this is probably the character that's most been talked about and speculated, where is she coming up again, especially where we leave her at the end of this season. She has left the Inquisitors, she's been left for dead. She went to kill Luke Skywalker to either get revenge on Anakin Skywalker because Luke is his son, or on Obi Wan Kenobi because he's protecting Luke. It was a little unclear in the episode, but ultimately she finds herself unable to do it, and she begins the process of making amends for the crimes that she has done in the past. She has that wonderful scene at the end with Ewan McGregor. So where she goes from here is very up in the air. I honestly think that it's most likely that we'll be seeing her in the Jedi Survivor video game, because that video game is going to be taking place in the same year that the Obi Wan Kenobi series took place in, and the first game, Jedi Fallen Order, focused a lot on the Inquisitors. So seeing a former Inquisitor meeting up with the video game protagonist Cal Kestis at some point, it doesn't seem like that far-fetched of an idea for me. Next up is a bit of a deep cut in the second episode of Obi Wan Kenobi. When we meet Haja, he is smuggling a Force-sensitive child and his mother off the planet, and the child is named as Corran Horn, which admittedly I didn't know about until I looked it up online, but Corran Horn is a character from the old continuity of Star Wars before Disney purchased it. All of that's no longer canon since Disney purchased it and kind of did a reset on the Star Wars Expanded Universe, but originally that character with the exact same name as this child went on to become a Force-sensitive pilot in the New Republic after the events of the original trilogy. He was a skilled pilot, part of Rogue Squadron, and he was eventually trained by Luke Skywalker to become a Jedi, and he eventually rose to become a Jedi Master. So I think that we might potentially be seeing that character in the Rogue Squadron movie directed by Patty Jenkins whenever that eventually comes out. Or we could potentially see him in Mandalorian or Ahsoka series, kind of the time period right after the original trilogy. Maybe he'll meet up with Luke Skywalker there like Grogu has. Who knows? But obviously the one that is most fun to think about is what might happen in an Obi Wan Kenobi Season 2. At the very end of Season 1, he meets up with the Force spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn, his old master. But what adventure Obi-Wan might go on in a Season 2, hard to say. He's already had his confrontation with Vader, he's overcome that guilt, and doing something like that again might feel like it's retreading, telling the same story. But some potential routes I think they might go down are we haven't seen him interact with the Mos Eisley Cantina yet, which in A New Hope he does specifically say, "You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." And it's like, how does he know that? Sounds like he's got some personal experiences at this cantina, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a scene of him in the cantina, or perhaps he needs to meet some shady contact for something that has to do with the adventure he goes on. With him being reconnected with Qui-Gon Jinn, I would be happy if he went on some sort of more spiritual journey, not in like a soul-searching kind of way, but in like, something to do with like balancing the Force, or something a bit stranger, more off the beaten path than like go fight the Empire, which I mean, I love go fight the Empire stories, that's what Star Wars is founded upon, but I would maybe enjoy seeing a more like, oh, we have to deal with this like dark side threat, maybe like deep cut, but like something like the Drengir from the High Republic novels and comics, like these evil sentient plants that draw on the dark side of the Force. Maybe not them specifically, but something like that. Some weird threat that's not the Empire, but that requires a Jedi Master to go deal with. That's just my thoughts. All of this is just pure speculation, but I thoroughly enjoyed the Obi Wan Kenobi series, so I wanted to spend a little bit of time speculating with you. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Where might we see some of these characters pop up again? What about some other characters that were introduced in the show that you might want to see again? I would love to discuss with you in the comments below. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and have a good week.